The things that have been is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. All right. I think I want to start with the flood story. Noah's Ark. Now, let's say, let's talk to the Christians. All right. If I ask most Christians why God did what he did, what would be the answer? All right. I'm going to guess that most of you said because the world was so full of sin, they were corrupted, and God just said that it's just too evil, man, just too sinful, and they need to be wiped off the face of earth, right? Oh, no, that's actually not what the Bible says at all. Yes, it says man, and you're forgetting the most part. Man, animals, and plants, everything was corrupted. Are you going to tell me a plant sinned? You going to tell me an animal sinned? Nah, I don't think so. See, what most people don't understand is that the Bible was talking about basically what we call genetically modification today. Back then, if we're so advanced, why are they talking about back then? Yeah, that's right. They're talking about literally altering the DNA. Thousands of years ago. Thousands of years ago, they're talking about DNA alterations. How? How are they talking about that? And you say, well, where am I getting that? Because that is what the context is saying. I mean, all right, I like to go to the book of Enoch. I usually don't like to go outside the Bible, but I think the book of Enoch goes hand in hand with writings of the Bible. Now, it didn't get put in the Bible because it wasn't inspired by God. But it was almost like Enoch's journal. Basically, he's writing down what went on. And Enoch, if you don't know who Enoch was, he walked with God for 300 years. God loved him. In fact, so much he didn't die. He didn't die in the flood. God took him. He didn't have to face death. He was one of the two people that in the Bible that didn't face death. And I'd say that he was in pretty good with God, and I'd say that he did something right. So, and when you read Enoch's writings, they coincide exactly with the time frame. Everything's going on in the Bible except for he gives more detail, and he gives detail exactly of like what was going on in those times. For instance, it says, now this is where the fallen angels have come down and said, basically defiled the women, and how Enoch puts it, he goes into a little more detail than what the Bible does. It says they became pregnant and they bare great giants whose height was 3,000 ells. And if I think I'm right, an ell is about, I think they went off of maybe about the length of a forearm. It's about like an ell, I believe, was the measurement then. Correct me if I'm wrong, but now we're talking 3,000 ells. Now that's a giant. It says, who consumed all the equestrians of men. And when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. And they began to sin against the birds and the beasts and the reptiles and the fish, and to devour one another's flesh and to drink the blood. This is what was created out of the fallen angels meshing with man, a total abomination. And this is me guessing, but this to me sounds like something like the T-Rex or something. I don't believe God created T-Rex. I believe God created like stuff like the brontosaurus and plant-eating dinosaurs, and I think that's what Job is describing. And yeah, back in the book of Job, where he talks about this creature having a tail of a cedar. We're talking about cedar tree. Now, in some versions of the Bible, they like to put like hippo there or something like that. I don't know about you, but I've never seen a hippo with a tail the size of a cedar tree. All right, cedar trees can, not only are they thick, they're trees. Cedar trees can get up to like 100 feet tall. And that's not the only time they refer to in the Bible something being compared to a cedar tree. They talk about the giants after the flood being as tall as cedar trees. People like these, I believe what was left, see the DNA, and where I'm getting at is even though the flood happened and wiped out all this evil, it states that Noah was the only non-corrupted, basically human left. So his sons were corrupted, and we know this because 2 out of the 3 sons created giants out of their bloodline, which was basically from the Nephilim. I gotta stop this and start over. Well, not start over, but my dogs are playing. I mean, thinking like that, who's to say that creatures like this, described in ancient writings, were not fake? Okay, I'm getting a little long-winded, but basically what I'm getting at is this very thing was going on then. Now here's the next key scripture. As in the days of Noah, shall it be in the end, basically. Paraphrasing, I don't know exactly what it says, but more or less that's what it says. So God's saying, in the end times, right before he comes back, places judgment on this world again for the last time, it's going to be just like in the days of Noah. Now, Christians, you should really be thinking, and anybody, not just Christians, how could they know this? How could they know that this type of genetically engineered stuff is going to happen again? I mean, God's saying, this is what happened. These fallen angels tried to be gods on the earth. Now, what do we have going on now? We got scientists trying to play God. Let's take a few looks at some of these creations. They call creations. They're not creating anything. They're manipulating God's creation and trying to make some kind of hybrid thing out of it. That's not creating anything. Here you got glow-in-the-dark sheep. It says they basically did this by injecting them with green protein found in a Victoria jellyfish. Here are the babies of monkeys that they did this to. And they actually passed the gene on to their babies. They're saying this is the first time a genetically modified animal has done this. Cows that produce human milk. How you like that? Crops that produce their own pesticides, and then we eat it. Let's take it a step further with mind-altering drugs. Drugs that can actually erase your memories. This is what they are telling us they have. What do they really have? What kind of super soldiers are they really trying to create? Oh, that's far-fetched? That's out there? It says right here the researchers are worried about them creating an altered humanity. Really. I mean, this is the people looking into it. The people that know the effects this will have on the next generations. Guys, it's all there. It's all written down. It wasn't hidden from us. We are living in times where we can read that Bible and understand it. I mean, we can literally look out our window and see what God's talking about. Could you imagine living 100 years ago and trying to read these words and understand it? I couldn't. I couldn't imagine one bit. I mean, you realize that we'd be going Israel. What is this book talking about? I mean, that's where we're at. When you start thinking on that level, if you haven't understood what I just said, you realize that Israel just now became a nation again in what was it, 42? Yeah, 1942. I mean, we're talking about like, you know, the Jews needed a place to go after, you know, they stopped Hitler's reign. I mean, that's recent history, and you got the Bible sitting there telling us that this was going to happen, that Israel was going to go away and it was going to come back, and almost overnight, and that's exactly how it went down. Not only that, God says this will be the people that see this happen. That generation will be the last generation. I mean, we have been blessed in the way that we can read that book and totally get what it's saying. I mean, I say blessed because that gives us a huge advantage. I mean, especially for the non-believers. I mean, the skeptics. I mean, how you can overlook that significance? I don't know. I mean, how you could possibly think that's some kind of self-made prophecy? Like, I mean, just coincidence that all this stuff's going on. Just so happens Israel became a nation, and just so happens we're moving towards a one-world government, new world order. Just so happens that everybody, like, it's Christianity's going away, and even in the United States. I mean, it's evolution has destroyed people's faith. I mean, it's crazy what that has done to people and how it's being pushed through these government school systems to literally brainwash you into a religion and to sit there and tell Christians that they believe in this crazy religion, but yet you believe in that crazy religion of millions of years old and say that you got scientific proof. You don't have jack, all right? You got a bunch of assumptions made up by a bunch of deceiving scientists that don't want to let go of their religion. Okay, that's all it comes down to. There's real science, and then there's evolution. Then there's microevolution. Okay, nobody debates that. I mean, so say microevolution of things adapting to their environments and everything, but never, ever has evolution been witnessed. Period. Yeah, it happens over a long period of time. In fact, so long it doesn't happen. Okay, I'm going to get into that in a other video. I thought I'd get into it, but I wanted to do this just to kind of, if you've never taken that take in the Bible and really made that connection of what was really being said as far as why God had to wipe everybody off the earth. I mean, it really became to the point where I don't believe there were technically many humans left on the earth. I mean, what God's created, I believe, was about gone. how he originally created us. It had all been corrupted. And when he says corrupted, he's not talking about how we use the term today. He's talking about like literally DNA was altered. Like his creation was altered by these fallen angels. And now it's impossible for you to say this is crazy, that's nuts. We live in that sci-fi world right now. We're living it. There's no denying it. And that's only the level we're being told about. Can you imagine what they can really do? I mean, you look at Hollywood movies, and you better believe it's not far off from what they're showing you. I mean, look at the trends in the movies. I mean, you got the Marvel Comics, Captain America's. You got that new one this came out with the meshing the mind with machines. I mean, going back to Terminator stuff. I mean, that was the ideology. I mean, it's called transhumanism. Is what they're shooting for. Basically, that's where they believe that they can basically do away with humans altogether. I think in the long run, making basically machines, which they've almost done, almost human-like. I mean, if you go look up on the internet now, you can look at where they've made machines like that move like cats and dogs. I mean, and now they got machines that don't act almost human, move almost human-like. It's beyond crazy. And like I said, that's just what they're revealing. What do they really have? If the world continues in the way things are going, I'll say it again, what future do we really have? You think they're using this technology for good, to better mankind? Hell no, they're going to use it to enslave mankind. That's where it's going. You don't have faith in God. You don't believe that Bible. And you better believe that that's the future that either your kids have or that next generation, so it's not far off. And it's not a pleasant thought. So, but I know just from reading the words in that Bible, they're true. And you're completely blind if you cannot look out that window. Look at what's going on in the world today and not see that it's all coming true. I hope this video opens some people's eyes and gets you really looking at a different perspective of what's really being said there. All right, it's Sean Y, and I'll talk to you later.